The talk this morning is titled Gratitude to the Teachings and to Our Teacher. This is a very simple talk, and yet it's very beautiful and very deep. And I challenge you not to listen to it intellectually, but listen with your heart. And also not to think that you are there yet, but that you are getting there. Many of the wisest humans have not been people of fame or power or leaders of vast numbers of followers. It's the first line to think about, because that covers the majority of us sitting here. See, what happens if you're not in a position of power or of leadership, you try to push yourself into that mold. And by pushing yourself into that mold, a mold that wasn't created for you, but a mold that you're trying to fit yourself into, it's like taking a size 23 person trying to fit themselves into a size 3. It just ain't gonna work. So the idea is to, first of all, accept yourself for who you are and where you are, and then feel blessed. And you can take that blessing and share it and radiate it as a transformer of people. Much of the profound healing and transformation that takes place in any age emanates from people who are not known for great abilities or miraculous deeds. Doesn't that come as a surprise? Not really. I mean, not really, if you're paying attention. See, most of us pay attention to people who are loud. They speak loudly. Or they create a presence about themselves through their clothes or through their money or through their sense of self-importance. And we begin to believe them, and we think that these are great people and they have the ability to heal in a miraculous way, and that they're going to change the world, and yet they do nothing. And then we become disappointed because we have listened to them tell us how great they are, in various ways. And then we become defeated when, in all reality, we should be looking in the mirror at ourselves as being a blessed child of God. There is no greater entity than God. No one. Not even the president of our country, or the heads of state, or the richest and most powerful person in your community is greater than God. And we are all sparks of God. So if we are sparks of God, doesn't that create an equality? And the equality is not that we are alike, but that we are equal to one another. So if we are a size 23, let's put that size 23 on and be proud of it and feel blessed. And if you suffer at size 3, we understand. And you will be blessed anyway. Great compassion and transformation often radiate from the simplest of people, those whose lives embody love and truth. So that's what you're going to challenge yourselves. One of the things from the lecture today, are you the embodiment of love and truth? So think about that. There is a great truth in the statement, if you want to know a Zen master, you must ask his or her spouse. We are known through our most personal actions, our care, our words, our feelings. Living in inner harmony and peace means including every thought and action in the living expression of that harmony and peace. Those rooted in true wisdom and compassion feel no need to proclaim it from a pedestal. I think this is why some ignorant people in this country don't see the greatness of our president, who is very humble and who is not afraid to say, I made a mistake, and who is not afraid to walk among the people and not stand on a pedestal and say, I am the president, treat me as royalty. He walks among the people. That's humility, not separate from. Such people know that the only meaningful way to live is to enact the spirit of love and wisdom every day, in every way, even when you don't want to. We are moved by the stories of great sages and spiritual masters because they are living examples of a profound wisdom that we can also sense in ourselves. They have discovered, and we are going to discover, how to find a great calm amongst chaos. This is what I'm challenging myself with. And it's very exciting, actually, to try to meet that challenge. How can we greet conflict and respect? How can we greet conflict and disrespect with forgiveness and acceptance? That's the other part of this challenge. When someone shows you disrespect, when someone is creating chaos in your life, can you, because of your inner calm, this inner peace, accept the disrespect and forgive it? This will make you an exceptional person and certainly a disciple of Christ. Such people live a life of profound faith in the midst of suspicion and doubt. Their mission is not to impose their truths upon others. Hear me well, we don't stand on a street corner and say, come to church or come to conference. We say, if you feel inspired to come to the conference, you are welcome. If you feel inspired to join us on Sunday morning to hear the teachings, you are welcome. Our mission, their mission, these people, these great people of calmness and inner harmony and the ability to forgive and accept those who disrespect us or you or myself. These people, their mission is not to impose their truth upon others, but to live in accord with the truths that they have come to understand, to express that inner harmony within their everyday life. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Well, if you're going to accept this challenge, what's going to happen? The next is chaos is going to come into your world. People who disrespect you are, and probably your closest friends, all of a sudden they have turned from your best friend to your worst friend because they're showing a disrespect of you that you never saw before. How could this be? Because your solar angel is allowing it to happen. God is allowing it to happen to see if you can meet this challenge. Can you be appreciative and forgiving of people who are creating chaos in your life and disrespecting you? It is said that one of the greatest miracles in spiritual life is a change of heart, a change of consciousness. This change occurs through awakening. First, you must awaken. Awaken to your light, your love, your power. Awaken that you are a spark of God. Awaken to a loving heart and to the light of the teaching. And then through the process of transformation and transfiguration, this is the process. After you awaken, then you undergo the process of transformation. And from transformation, you move to and into transfiguration. And when you move into this fiery world of transformation, transfiguration, you become an Agni Yogi. As you become an Agni Yogi, now you can fly to the other worlds consciously. You're no longer pretending to be in direct contact with your solar angel, or pretending to be in the breast pocket of the master, or pretending to be conscious of the ashram experience every night. Now it's real. And that's being an Agni Yogi. But these 3 steps, you must be awakened. You must allow yourself to go through this beautiful transformational process, and then move into the fiery life of transfiguration. When people say that they are grateful for the teaching, this means to me now their life has a sense of direction, that they live a life that is filled with principle and virtue. They practice forgiveness and understanding. It is not how much they know it is, but how much they put their knowledge into their day-to-day life. In other words, it's not how many books you can buy and put on your shelf and display your wisdom. It's whether you've taken all those books off the shelf and studied them and digested them and assimilated the teaching, and now you're living it. And that's what we want for all of ourselves. We want to be livers of the teaching. That's so cute, isn't it? Yeah, because once we become livers of the teaching, we will attract other people to the teaching, because they're going to want to be like you, healthy and strong and loving and caring and compassionate and forgiving and accepting. All of these things. We want to be that so we can awaken others. We become radiant transformers. And pretty soon our conference will have to move it to another location because there's no room in the building for everybody. Put our knowledge into our day-to-day life. This is how a student gives respect to his teacher and to the teaching. It is not by proclaiming how long they have been in the teaching or how many books they have on their shelves. Those who show gratitude to the teaching are those who live it. For example, a very simple example, we embody the teaching through the way we treat our neighbors, our families, our communities, our country and environment, but also ourselves. The power of our heart is contagious. The spirit of being awake and conscious is contagious. If we wish to have inner and outer peace, we must be peace. If we wish to have love in this world, we must be love. Our children, friends, and co-workers will benefit when we are a brother or sister to them. Bringing our hearts and minds, our integrity and wakefulness when we are together. I couldn't help but think about this yesterday when my kids came up from Phoenix and spent the afternoon and evening with me. I barely saw them because they decided they're going to clean my house. They're going to reconstruct my house. So last weekend they were here. This weekend they were here. They decided I needed other shelves for this cabinet, and so they were sawing and nailing, and one shelf fell, and it looked like the whole house was going to come down with it. And they were laughing and loving one another, and we had a good time, even though it was hard work. We've come a long way to reach this point where we can love one another unconditionally and be grateful for one another. And this came about through love, through appreciation, and through forgiveness. It just doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't just, I want to say be born. I don't know if that is grammatically correct or not, but you can't just birth an experience like that in a second. That's my iPad, I'm sorry, that's going on. Okay. But you see, we must be loved. When our children are teenagers, we must be loved. When our children are going through a divorce, we must be loved. When they are having problems with their family, we must be loved. We're not there yet. I mean, I am not, but I'm working on it. And I'm seeing enough results to know love heals and love works. Forgiveness heals and forgiveness works. So don't give up. Remember last week I said when Gandhi was asked if he had any message for the world, he said, "My life is my message." If you are bringing the teaching to the world by being living examples of the teaching, then you must take a look at yourself and say, what is my message? It is said about a brother that when he had concluded weaving his basket and put handles on them, he heard a monk next door saying, "What shall I do? What shall I do? A trader is coming, but I don't have," this is trader, "a trader is coming, but I don't have handles to put on my baskets." The basket weaver took the handles off of his own baskets and brought them to the monk, saying, "Look, I have these left over. Why don't you put them on your baskets?" He made his brother's work complete as there was need, leaving his own unfinished. This is an example of living the teaching. It is an example of being the teaching, of giving respect to our teachers. Our teachers who gave so much to us. The basket weaver didn't first serve himself and then another. He engaged in sacrificial service by forgetting himself to help another. It is said that soon after his enlightenment, the Buddha passed a man on the road who was struck by the extraordinary radiance and peacefulness of his presence. The man stopped and asked, "My friend, what are you? Are you a celestial being or a god?" "No," said the Buddha. "Well then, are you some kind of a magician or a wizard?" Again, the Buddha answered, "No." "Are you a man?" "No." Well, my friend, what then are you? The Buddha replied, I am awake. Are you living the teaching? Does your life exemplify respect for the teaching and the teacher? Are you awake? I am most grateful to my teachers who have shown me the spiritual path. I am very, very grateful for the teaching that my teachers gave to me. And I think you feel the same. Over the years of being on this spiritual path, I still hear others talk about when they found the path and who the one was that took them to the path, into the path. Some people with tears in their eyes remembered that a lady, a book, a man, a teacher made them enter into this spiritual path. It was such a special moment, one that we all remember to this day. To understand that path is to understand that the path is that which leads you to meet yourself, your true self. If people cannot find a path, then they do not have a path. They do not have a teaching. So if you have no path, you have no teaching. People must slowly, slowly find the path leading to their self, their capital S self, so that they see themselves as they truly are. That child of God. For example, when you look in a mirror, what do you think about yourself? Oh dear. Yeah, so I was doing this morning. Is this right? I'm kidding. The path leads us to see exactly what we are, physically, emotionally, and mentally. The path am I okay? The path does something else very interesting. The path gives you the light by which you see you are what you are. You cannot excuse yourself for what you are. How ugly you are, especially inside. The path makes you see who and what you are, and who and what you are not. Immediately, when you find yourself satisfied with yourself, you are out of the path. At the moment you become satisfied with yourself, that is when you fall into the abyss of darkness. In the New Testament, there was a rich man who said, I have so much money, so many friends, this and that. He said, my soul can eat and drink and be happy. You do not have to worry about anything. When he was saying this, an angel came and whispered in his ear, you know, the truth is that tonight you are dying. The man said, well, what am I going to do with all of these things? Well, Christians translate this as a materialistic concept. Christ was not talking about wealth and housing and properties. He was talking about something else. If a person is satisfied with what he is and says, I am happy, I am satisfied, the angel will make him understand that he is already spiritually dead. If you are not changing, then you're not on the path. You are a hypocrite and really preparing a dangerous catastrophe with your karma. It is very important. It really is important to see these things. And because you can see these things, you are going to be grateful to the one who showed you the path. When you go home today, think who gave you the path. How did you find it? How did you find the teaching, and who kept you in the teaching. The two must go together to equal a sum. Like 1 + 1 = 2. We have millions of ways to find the teaching, but we must be grateful to that hand or that person who led us into the teaching. Be grateful for the richness, beauty, and treasury of the teaching. What happened? How did you change because you came in contact with the teaching? See, this is something to think about today. And maybe through the rest of our conference week coming up. How did you change because you came in contact with the teaching, but how are you continuing to grow? Because if you stay where you are, then you're not on the path any longer. What is the teaching? The teaching is those experiences and wisdom that build your future. The teaching is those experiences and wisdom that build your future. Those who do not have a future are already dead. They've stopped living. And I've been around this planet long enough to tell if you're 85 years old and still living, or you're 85 years old and you're dead. Or you're 14 years old and you're living, or you're 14 years old and you're dead. Or you're 35 or 45 or 55. It doesn't make any difference. The teaching is those experiences and wisdom that build your future. Every person lives for the future. Now we are living because tomorrow we are thinking we're going to eat and drink and be happy, or we're going to meet some people, or our investments are going to bring us a lot of money. I even have the stock market on my iPad. One day it's up, one day it's down, the next day I'm calling the investor, financial advisor. Don't do that. It's very distracting. But the real teaching is not about a mundane future. It is your future for 10 million years, for other great cycles, what we are going to be in the future. For example, you are going to leave your body. Okay, where are you going? Well, I don't know. Well, then learn it. See, someday you're going to walk into the doctor's office and the doctor is going to say, you have 6 months to live, or 3 weeks to live. Prepare, get your affairs in order. And all of a sudden you start thinking, where am I going? What's next? When my body is dead, what am I going to do with myself? What's out there? Well, the teachings tell you exactly what's out there. But to experience it, you have to be an Agni Yogi. Now, you can be a drug addict and go into the astral plane and think, when I die, this is where I'm going, but we don't. This is where you are passing through. Because you already know about Dakyud, for example. You know about the ashram. You've been attending classes night after night after night in the subjective world, in the beautiful ashram. You've met the master. It's a shifting from this dense world into the real life. But if you don't know where you're going when you leave your body, you're going to have to learn it now. The teaching shows you what you are going to be. When the teaching says to you, you are going to be like this or like that, It shows you how you can become like this or how you can become like that. It shows you the steps to be something. For example, you can be a dark light or a light, bright light. You can be blind in the other worlds, or you can be really clairvoyant. I remember one of my very first experiences after I was awake. I was studying with a teacher in Florida, and I'd had a dream in the night. It's such a vivid dream. It was just like you and I sitting here and talking and sharing. And this woman came up to me and she said, "Tell your teacher I am well, I am fine, I am beautiful, I am happy." And I said, "Well, what is your name?" And she gave me her name. And the next day I went into the office because I was working for my teacher at the time. And I said, "I have a message for you." And she just fell apart because this is one of her students that had passed a couple of weeks earlier. She said, "Well, tell me how she looks." So I told her how I've never met this person, never heard the name. Maybe that's what it is like to be clairvoyant in the other worlds. You can see better, you can hear better, you can taste better, you can touch better. Okay? You bypassed the darkness of the subconscious mind, and you know who you are. You can be active or you can be a corpse. The teaching tells us how we are going to live in this life so that we can have a happier, more blissful, and progressive life after we leave our body. The teaching talks about our future, and all the wisdom of the teaching is concentrated on how to lead us to our future beingness, our future becomingness. That is the real teaching. The real teaching is not occupied with mundane things, because this mundane life for us is just a second. We are born and die in 1 second in comparison to those great, great kalpas or cycles. You are going to think about your future, and the teaching really tells you how to live so that you can have a future. The grandma's father's name was Brown Hawk. Grandmother said his understanding was deep. He could feel the thoughts of the tree. Once she said that when she was a little girl, her father was troubled and said the white oaks on the mountain near them were excited and scared. He spent much time in the mountain, walking among the oaks. They were of much beauty, tall and straight. They were unselfish, giving of themselves to feed the wild things. Not being selfish gave them so much spirit, and their spirit was strong. Grandma told her father, Grandma said that her father got so worried about the oaks that he would walk amongst them at night, for he knew something was wrong. Then early one morning, as the sun broke the mountain ridge, Brown Hawk watched while the lumbermen moved through the white oaks, marking and figuring out how to cut them all down. When they left, Brown Hawk said the white oaks commenced to cry, and he could not sleep. So he watched the lumbermen. They built a road up to the mountain over which to bring their wagons. Grandma said her father talked to the Cherokees, and they were all determined to save the white oaks. She said at night when the lumbermen would leave and go back to the settlement, the Cherokees would dig up the road, hacking deep trenches across it. The women and children all helped. The next morning, the lumbermen came back and spent all day fixing the road. But that night, the Cherokees dug it up again. They went on for the next 2 days and nights. Then the lumbermen had to put up guards on the road with guns. But they could not guard all the road, and the Cherokees dug trenches where they could. Grandma said it was a hard struggle, and they grew very tired. Then one day, as the lumbermen were working on the road, a giant white oak fell across a wagon. It killed 2 mules and smashed the wagon. She said it was a fine, healthy white oak and had no reason to fall, but it did. The lumbermen gave up trying to build the road. Spring rains set in and they never came back. Grandma said the moon waxed full and they held a celebration in the great stand of white oaks. They danced and the white oaks sang and touched their branches together and touched the Cherokee. Grandma said they sang a death chant for the white oak who had given his life to save others. The teaching says, what kind of seeds are you going to plant? Evil seeds or good seeds? Hateful seeds or loving seeds? Gossip, slander, malice, and criticism seeds? Or are you going to sow different seeds? It is a matter of choice. You can choose anything you want, but one thing you are going to learn is that if you plant a fig tree, do not expect an apple tree. If you're 24, don't expect to fit into a size 3, okay? You will go to the tree and say, I wanted a fig. Well, you wanted it, but you planted an apple tree, not a fig tree. There is a great control and responsibility in your hands. That is the beauty of the teaching. The teaching does not say, everything will be okay, don't worry. Just eat and drink and manipulate and criticize and hurt people and everything will be okay because God is love. See what is going on? The teaching does not say that. The teaching says that God is love, but his love is very, very dangerous because his love makes you eat whatever you planted. The teaching says whatever you planted, you're going to receive. If you are slandering, if you have wrong relationships, if you are manipulating people, exploiting people, you are going to fall into the pit. That is why St. James said, do not deceive yourself. Whatever you did to other people, people are going to do to you. The conclusion here, and I know we're going to run maybe a minute or two over. Let's say an opportunity was given to you to come and vacuum and clean our sanctuary. Or you were given the opportunity to care for our grounds and gardens. And then you complain, for hours I vacuumed and dusted, and now they're walking over that very spot I cleaned. Or this or that. But this is a great blessing for you to serve if you understand that. Opportunity is given to us to serve others in so many ways. It is an opportunity. You are serving if the spirit of service is there. You are going to your friends and saying, don't worry, your husband will return. Do not worry, your surgery will be all right. I will pray for you. You suggest that they eat healthy food or nice food. You bring a person out of drug addiction. What a great service you are doing. It is a privilege given to you to serve somebody. For that privilege, you are going to really thank God, that God gave you the privilege to do something for somebody. If you have this spirit, you have the spirit of gratitude. The path and the teaching is to make you face reality. The teaching must bring us to our senses. There is no progress on your spiritual path until you feel gratitude and express your gratitude in practical ways. Profound, deep, simple.